Hey everyone, this is Glenn Ingram, the Web Accessibility Guy. Excuse me. I wanted to visit with you a little bit again about accessible websites and ADA website lawsuits, however you want to kind of label them or talk about them. It has been interesting, to say the least, the past few months. For anyone that doesn't know, on March 18th, 2022, the Department of Justice officially added websites to the Americans with Disabilities Act. So what does this mean for business owners across the country or across the world for that matter? It means that where there were areas where lawsuits were predominant, they have increased the volume or the rate of lawsuits. For example, the district around New York seems like prior to March was averaging about 300 to 400 lawsuits a month. Now we're probably averaging that much per week. So that means areas that have had lawsuits are increasing the volume at which they're suing businesses, the same serial litigants, the same law firms and whatnot. It means that now that the DOJ, our Department of Justice, has officially made this part of the Americans with Disabilities Act, we're probably going to start seeing suits in other federal districts where prior to this, it was kind of based on the interpretation, if you will, of the law, district by district, court by court. Now that the powers that be above, if you will, have made this a federal law, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more states, districts engaged in this practice of suing businesses because their websites do not work properly for those with disabilities. It seems as though over the last month, we are to the point where we're probably receiving about a referral per day from either a business that was sued or from their law firm, their attorney, their legal representative reaching out, talking to us on their behalf and initiating the conversation. I would talk about a few of them briefly. We've had one company that was sued out of the district around New York. Now, if your business is sued by, I believe it's a third district, I could be wrong, out of New York, there is a 30-day window that begins either at the day the lawsuit was filed or the day it was served. Depending on whom I speak with, I hear different things. So I'm not an attorney. You have to ask an attorney exactly when this window begins. But if you're sued by a business out of that federal district, you have some sort of a window to fix the website. Now you're still going to pay legal fees for your attorney, the attorney that represents the plaintiff, but it's much less expensive to settle that lawsuit than if you don't fix it promptly. I've been asked this question a lot lately from businesses in California that have been sued that are out trying to do some research. And I appreciate that. I respect the heck out of anyone that wants to go out online and do research. Unfortunately, you are limited to the knowledge of the person that shared the information. To the best of my knowledge, in the state of California, there is no window, there is no grace period. If you're sued, you are guilty. You must then contact an attorney ASAP. Even if you've just gotten a letter that says someone's going to sue you, contact an attorney ASAP. If you need help, contact me. I'd be happy to refer you to the people that I know that do this on a regular basis. The importance of working with an attorney that specializes in accessibility is no different than contacting a criminal attorney should you get a DUI, contacting a divorce attorney if you're having trouble with a marriage, custody, anything like that, contacting a personal injury attorney should you be in an accident. Attorneys all have specialties, no different than a doctor has a specialty, no different than someone that works online has a specialty. Work with someone that works in your industry all the time, because these ADA compliant websites, the attorneys that are representing businesses know the plaintiff attorneys. They know how they work, they know what they're looking for, and they can help you settle this as quickly as possible for the least amount of money possible, because that's where we're at now in June 2022. Should someone send you a letter that says your business is not compliant with for disabled people from a state law, from a federal law. It literally is a race against time to settle this as quickly as possible to limit your financial liability. We also had another company that did a specialty food type of, I wouldn't say a restaurant, but they serve food. And they have 3 websites that they only have access to one. The people for the other 2 parts of their business or the other 2 web properties won't give them access to them. Well, it's kind of hard to fix a website if you can't get access to that. So it's kind of interesting. Some people that have proprietary softwares or proprietary systems, if you will, that are not taking the time to learn and understand accessibility are probably in for a rude awakening and having to change their business model. Now let's look at another one. Was an e-commerce website that, fortunately for them, they just received a demand letter versus being sued. This means the business model for this attorney is they send out more letters than they actually file lawsuits. However, since they have not invested the time, the filing fees, and more effort into filing a lawsuit, typically those can be settled for a lesser amount prior to entering into litigation. So should you receive a letter, do not ignore it. Do not think it's just going to go away on its own. Contact an attorney that specializes in accessibility. And with any of these lawsuits, contact someone that knows what they're doing with accessibility ASAP to start the process of fixing, replacing, whatever it takes to make your website accessible. Because I'm seeing businesses time and time again that are being sued multiple times because of maybe a false impression or a false sense of security that if I am sued by Jill and my agreement with Jill as a disabled person is that I will fix my website in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, whatever that is, that I have that time to fix something. That doesn't mean that Greg, another person with a disability, can't file suit against you tomorrow, next week, or next month. We've also had one that was interesting, that it was a property management company that had locations across the country. So of course, one of those that was sued was in California, where we're seeing more of those lawsuits than any other state. But in sharing with them what happened with the Department of Justice, and this now being an official Americans with Disabilities law, now all of a sudden they have to make a determination at what process do I correct websites throughout the country, because once I'm sued for one, I don't want to be sued for another one. Another prime example is a restaurant, or a company that owns a few restaurants in Southern California, placed a video on their website and didn't understand the importance of closed captioning and transcriptions on a website. It was just an instrumental. There was no singing. So if there's no singing, people may assume that you don't have to put something on there that's going to say what is being said in the video. However, someone that's deaf, can't hear, doesn't know that they're missing on singing. So all that would have been required is to put what's called a transcription from the beginning to the end of that video that says music playing. That's all it would have taken, and they wouldn't have been sued. Unfortunately, that business ended up costing them between $10,000 and $15,000 because they had a video that didn't work for a hearing impaired person on a website. So not all of these websites are by blind, some are by deaf people. Now, what you want to keep in mind is just because those are the predominant plaintiffs in the lawsuits doesn't mean that that's all we have to be concerned about when building, creating, making a website work for everyone. Let's say that you have MS, MD, cerebral palsy, or any other type of disease that affects your motor skills and your hand, and you cannot properly navigate or use a mouse. Well, what this means is the website must be built in a proper manner so that your tab key turns into your pointer, like your mouse would, and your enter or return key turns into your clicker, so that someone can navigate your website with just 2 fingers. So those are just some of the ones that I wanted to share with you. I could go on for hours talking about what we're seeing for websites. One of the biggest things I want to share with you is make sure whomever you're working with your website, with accessibility in mind, is actually coding it properly from the scratch, repairing code in your website, and not just putting a quick fix or a little piece of software that creates a little logo somewhere around your website that then expands and says, this is what you need to do for disability. I'm going to say for probably the last year, if not more, at least half or more of the website lawsuits that we're seeing have a piece of software like that on there. That may probably lead you to believe that some of those pieces of software may not make your website accessible, and in some instances may actually create other obstacles for certain people, depending on the form of disability that they have. So I just want to share this with you. It's been prevalent for the last 4 years, guys. In January 1, 2018, the law went into effect in California. We've seen federal lawsuits in other places dating back to 2014 and 2015. It's just getting very serious. The volume of lawsuits is increasing every day, every week, every month. And I get to, fortunately or unfortunately, visit with people every day, every week that are in the process or have just been sued for something either A, they weren't aware of, or B, they thought they had taken care of and fixed. Unfortunately, didn't work with someone that knew how to do it properly. So this is just some of the things we're working with. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm always pretty resilient about sharing information, sharing what I know about this, because I would like to see more people take care of this proactively than reactively once they've been sued. And one thing that's very, very important, I think, to keep in mind, aside from litigation, aside from lawsuits, aside from all of that stuff, 1 out of 5 of us in the US has at least one form of a long-term disability. Depending on which statistics you look at, it ends up being somewhere between 18 and 23%. So that means if your website is not built properly, if you're in business and trying to use that website to generate more business for you, it's important to make sure that every potential customer can navigate your website and can contact you or purchase from you and become a client. We all spend a lot of time, some of us spend a lot of money on our websites. Some people spend more money working with their websites to make sure that they are in front of more people so they can get more customers. If you're going to use this as a resource, make sure everyone can become a customer. Hope this was helpful, guys. Take care.